Hi, Anne. How are you? How are you? Um, I am just sending invitations. Spider Bite has confirmed that he's coming here. That was my concern, that he wasn't going to show up, but that was also part of the learning of how complicated it is sometimes to get some people to talk about these topics, in particular if they are the ones who are behind on this, and having them to speak without, openly, without being like um, undercover, trying to expose them. It's something very complicated, challenging. So yeah, here's a Spider. So that's amazing. How are you, Anna, before we begin? Thank you very much for being here. This is your second experience into the spaces, right? Oh, I have to send you the invitation to speak. I have 2,000 spaces hosted, and I still have things to learn. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Tara, Hope, Spider, Heather, the Ram. Spider, bro, I send you an invitation to speak. Okay. Okay, here we have almost everybody. Brett is here. Anna, I send you an invitation to speak. If you accept it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay,
How's it
let's
going,
wait
everybody?
another minute. Hi, Brett. Spider, how are you?
Alberto, how's it going?
Everything's perfect, wonderful. How about yourself?
Good. Just been working
Yeah.
on a new software.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. No, I just copy and tweet you on something that happened in Uruguay, a hacking in Uruguay that was reported regarding certain information about the vaccines against COVID that were in the dark web found. Yeah, it's interesting.
Big fan.
Okay. Yeah, hold on. I want everybody here. Chasey, welcome. Okay. I don't know. Some of
Oh,
you,
I
I
can
don't
see
know.
Brett there. I'm linked with Brett on LinkedIn.
Oh, there.
Wow.
Yes, Brett from
Hiya,
LinkedIn,
Brett.
isn't
How are you?
I'm good. It's great to meet you.
And you, albeit virtually.
Albeit virtually. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, it's good to hear you. It's so strange when we finally get to see people that we've been connected with online for such a long time.
I agree
Well,
completely.
well, you don't know. AI, is it really bad? I mean, I don't know. Until I don't see it in person, I would have a doubt. Who knows? I don't know. I will be careful all the time. Hi, Brett. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Alberto, I appreciate it. You are amazing, and I really am grateful for the opportunity to join today.
Well, you're
Politically
very
intelligent.
humble. You're very humble, and I really, wow, I admire you, and my respect to you, Brett. Let's start with the space. Yeah, okay. This is a space that has been like very interesting how it was created, how it started, the idea. Uh, yeah, I mean, it started with me, myself, starting to get so many DMs of people, every day, with women, hot women, trying to hit on me, having a crush on me, and I was thinking, oh my god, am I so lucky or what? I mean, okay, and I initially started playing with those people, with those, messages, yeah, to try to see, okay, how much, what do they want, and okay, at one point, I realized it was really boring. I was tired of that. And I was thinking, okay, what's going on? I mean, how many people actually pay attention to this and actually go further than just at one point stop talking and not giving more attention to those conversations, those approach. And yeah, and then also there was this TV show Catfish on MTV that I found it really interesting when it came to people meeting other people online and, well, establishing relationships that ended up with being involved with somebody who was not the person he claimed he was or she was. Wow, so then I started researching videos and all that. And okay, I created a space about romance scam that was actually not serious. It was just me pretending to romance scam other people, but yeah, in a sarcastic and ironic way. And yeah, and we continue with that. And last week we had a space where we started talking about a person who had an a problem, well, not a problem, was a victim or a target by romance scammers. And okay, I changed the name of the space to Romance Scams, and we started talking about that. And then, okay, it was not planified or anything, and it happened that some people appeared that had certain different fields of expertise related to the topic that, wow, were really amazing to have them there. And at one point, I mean, this guy, Spider, who is down there, mentioned something related to romance scams that was surprising for me, because I know of many things that he has done, but I didn't know the part of he having been in that topic or doing things related to that, and he took me completely by surprise. And he was talking openly about how it was and how he perceived that and how he thought it could be treated, the problem. And well, if correct, then when you have the time to speak, you will say it, but if I'm not wrong, he was basically saying that it was impossible to stop at the end. That was basically what he said from his perspective. So well, it was very interesting. And then I ended up watching a video with Anna on YouTube about romance scams, which I found very interesting, with a person who was in the documentary of Netflix, Twin the Swindler, which for me also was very, very informative. And I said, okay, I will look up for some of the people in that YouTube video on Twitter to see if I can find them and I can get them to actually talk about that, to create some awareness about the problem. So here the idea is to talk about romance scams in order to, okay, to explain how it is, because actually I had no idea how it was all about this not much long ago. And yeah, some people might not know what it is. Okay, what it is, how it works, what are the effects of that. Okay, and then how can we prevent those things from happening, stop from happening, or protect people from being victims of that. What's the impact of this new kind of crime in this digital world? So that's the idea. We have a Scorpion here that I actually, it's the first time that we're going to speak in a space. It's the story that, of us interacting in Twitter is very interesting. But yeah, she's co-hosting. She's in IT she has experience in IT for 20 years, and well, then she can introduce herself. Anna Robert was a person from England that, okay, she was a victim of a specific type of romance fraud where it was not with the motives behind that were not money, economical, were others. So she will talk about that because after that experience, she decided to, okay, use that traumatic situation to actually turn into something positive and start doing things in order to prevent other people from suffering from that and protect those who have been affected by that. Brett is a person who, yeah, I mean, he has a great credentials. I mean, he was one of the most wanted people by the FBI at a certain point. He was a bad guy. And yeah, he was he did a lot of interesting things when it comes to cybercrime in his past, and he's doing a lot of very useful things now because of that past right now in helping others from those cyber criminals. Spider, Spider is a person who, okay, has a password, okay, that shape what the person is right now, and he will then talk about himself, what he's doing, why he's doing what he's doing, and yeah, the idea here is not to judge anybody, it's just to hear all the parts that are involved in this kind of, say, problematic, and yeah, and talk about the things that I said. So, let's just start with the Scorpion. Can you introduce yourself, Scorpion, and then we'll go to Anna, Brent, and Spider?
Hi guys, I'm Scorpio. Most of you have heard me in spaces before or not. I put a few articles up in the nest. One of them, the second one, it's fictional, but it is based on um Alberto. So just read it. It's important to know how these things happen because the way it happens, right? The techniques, it's the same all the time. It doesn't matter. The names might be different. The situations might be different. But it is the same outcome in the end. So if you're aware of, how these romance scams start, you can protect yourself.
Yeah, well, that's something that I always said. Chuck Sider, somebody that is a referent in podcasting, in hacking stories, reflects that about my story. That in order to know the enemy, you have to think like the enemy. That's a better way to protect yourself. Is think that like the one who, is the on the other side. Yeah, that's the only way. If not, it's impossible. So yeah, I'm reading the story hypothetically, and I was going to say, in order to do that, somebody's here in the space that I don't want to mention, but she will probably block me after she knows that I'm using applications such as Bumpy for dating online in order to play around and see how it is really going on, all this world of meeting people online and how it is working, and wow, yeah, yes, I am using Bumpy there. If you block me now, it's okay, but I'm just doing it for good purposes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just want to mention, you're different because you have professional experience. I'm also certified in cybersecurity, so I could put myself in positions because I know how to protect myself. But it's dangerous for people that don't have any experience to enter into these criminal spaces, right? So I just want to clarify that you're able to do it and go on dating apps and stuff like that because you're actually trying to prevent what's going on. Um, I don't want to promote anyone else doing it.
thank you. That's a very good advice. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I uh, I play with fire, but okay, always controlling and first of all, understanding what the risk I am exposed and accepting that or not. I mean, what I always do, being conscious about, okay, what are the risks I'm exposed to, and then if I decide to enter and do it, okay, I accept that, okay, there are risks involved, and yeah, then I won't cry if something goes wrong. So that's correct, Anna. And yeah, and it's interesting what you said, because in that video that I watched where I found you, there was a commercial from Tinder that was actually having a campaign because there was certain days that there was the day to fight against RomanceScams, I think, where actually the platform was saying, explaining certain things regarding that topic and telling people, for example, basically, do not send money to anybody that you haven't met online or things like that. I do not use the application for dating to date anybody because I don't think it's a place. It's actually something that for me can be used in order to meet somebody that I don't know. I find it like based on a picture, based on a description. Okay, for me, it's something that is completely virtual, and I mean, it's a risk that actually I wouldn't take to meet somebody in real life. So I am using the app, but I would never meet a person using the app. Yeah, and Scorpius are all right.
I don't know if I'm having issues, but I see Spider and Anna, their mics are open, but are they able to speak, or should I
Well,
drop down?
Yeah, I'm able to
yeah,
speak.
Okay, okay.
I'm able to speak. We were
All
just
right.
listening.
Perfect.
yeah,
Because
don't worry. I mean, yeah,
when I
that's
see
right.
it on my end, it's like it normally means that the co-host is having an issue. So, all right, as long as you could speak.
No, it's an issue of it's a glitch in Twitter. I'm not having technical issues, and also it's an issue in Twitter that sometimes, on desktop, for example, I see the speakers with the microphone or off, despite of having actually their mic. I mean, what you
Okay,
see is
perfect.
not what is happening. Don't believe in everything that you
Yeah,
see on the screen.
my app has been messing up lately. Should we
Oh, well,
go? You
well, it's
want to
not your
go?
app, I have to tell you. It's Twitter. It's Twitter that
Yeah, I
have
know.
always been like
I
this.
can't. Do you
Yeah,
want to go
so,
to Spider first?
yeah, now
Or
we go to
Anna?
Brett and then Spider. Yeah, Brett, can you introduce yourself, Brett? You have a hell of a curriculum.
All right, so my name is Brett Johnson, the United States Secret Service. They called me the original internet godfather. Now, how the hell do you get that title? Well, 39 felonies because 38 just wasn't enough. A place on the United States Most Wanted list, an escape from prison, and if that weren't enough, I built and ran the first organized cybercrime community called Shadow Crew. Shadow Crew goes on to make the front cover of Forbes, August 2004, October 26, 2004, United States Secret Service arrest 33 people, 6 countries, 6 hours. I'm the only guy publicly mentioned as getting away. They pick me up 4 months later, the Secret Service does. They give me a job, and I am the idiot that continues to break the law from inside Secret Service offices for the next 10 months. They find out about it. I take off on a cross-country crime spree, steal $600,000 in 4 months, wake up one morning, United States Most Wanted list, go to Disney World, get arrested there, sent to prison, escaped from prison, arrested again, serve out my time. Usually the story ends with the bad guy going back to prison. I was very fortunate in that I had a lot of people that cared about me, including the FBI. Today I work across the planet. I speak to the biggest companies on earth. I work my ass off to protect businesses and consumers from that type of attacker that I used to be. And one of the most interesting things that I do is I get to talk to a lot of victims. And I am typically the guy who has that conversation and gets to tell them that they are not getting their money back. I take that seriously because when I was a criminal, and I believe this of all criminals, criminals do not give a damn about their victims. They may claim they do, but they don't. Certainly I did not. And it wasn't until I started to turn my life around and started to interact with victims that I started to understand the damage that I had done. So I'm really grateful to be able to be on this spaces with you. There's something that Scorpio said a couple of minutes ago that I would kind of like to talk about for a minute. Scorpio said that, raising awareness, that way you can protect yourself. You'll know and be able to identify the things that are going on, and this won't happen to you. Let's segue for a second. Amazon. So reviews on Amazon, over 80% of all reviews on Amazon are fake. They're fake reviews. Now, a lot of people out there know that, but does that stop them from going and reading the reviews and basing those reviews that will determine which seller they go to? Now, I would argue that small microcosm right there is actually an example of how a lot of these frauds take place. I've been able to talk to a lot of romance scam victims or relationship scam victims. And a lot of those individuals, they initially thought it was a scam, yet they still continued to communicate with that criminal. And even after they started to send money to that criminal, it was like they adopted this lost cause fallacy. They kept putting money into it. So
Sunk cost.
right. I'm not quite sure that raising awareness means that you're going to somehow protect yourself. Certainly it matters. It absolutely matters. But I would argue that a criminal, and understand that when I say one of us, because I call myself a criminal still today, one of us, this is our lifestyle. It's not a job. It's not a career. They call it a criminal lifestyle for a reason. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's a crime of opportunity. We look for victims where we can profit, or if you're not doing it for profit, you're doing it for status, you're doing it for ideology, whatever the motivation is. We look for those types of victims. And because of that, we are better at committing crime than the common person on the street is at protecting themselves against that crime. So I would just argue that, hey, if an attacker is really out there to get you, it's important that you realize that it's almost like Hillary Clinton said with the book, it takes a village. You yourself, if you have, typically we try to rely on our support group, our friends, family members, associates. A lot of the time when we're engaged in being victimized, we don't want to do that, especially if it's online. We're scared of being judged. And the truth of the matter is that people will judge you. We've got even wrote phrases for it. Why would you click on that link? Why would you send money to someone you don't know? Who would ever believe in gift cards? We tend to blame the victim. And because of that victim or that potential victim, they tend to shut off those support groups that they've typically had, so that all of a sudden the only person they're talking to is that scammer. And that's something we need to work on, of not blaming the victim, of getting victims to report the crimes that have happened or been perpetrated upon them, for that victim to understand that, hey, you've not done a damn thing wrong. Not a thing. That criminal chose to victimize you every step of the way. It's an active choice every step of the way. That's just my thoughts on the matter. So I'll hush now.
No,
Yeah,
Brett,
Scorpio, before we go to you, I wanted to say something, Brett. Yeah, I mean, one of the reflections of the video with Metana was, okay, you were just victim because you were actually good people. That's, yeah, it's like you didn't do anything wrong, nothing to be ashamed. Actually, says a lot about you. They target you because you're a very good human being. That's it. Yeah, don't be ashamed. Yeah.
Lots of
Scorpio,
what
yeah.
you said there, Brett, completely agree with. And it is a huge shame on society that we're in this position now where victims are so isolated and ashamed when they're actually victims of a crime because of the way society blame them. And that's the whole point of the organisations that we've set up. It's no blame, no shame. And it's stopping the stigma around this so that we can break the cycle, so that more people do report, because we know that only between 7 and 14% of victims report this crime. And that means that priority isn't given to funding because it's not seen at the scale that it's actually happening. So I absolutely agree with you. And that's our number one sort of issue at Lovestead and Catch the Catfish, is to stop that stigma. So I love what you were saying there. It's absolutely true. I've helped, probably since I started doing this back in 2017, between 6,000 and 7,000 victims, all at different points of, all at different, points of journey, through the fraud. Sometimes you're really lucky and they come very early on when they're just suspicious about a profile. Unfortunately, at the other end of that scale, I've had victims that I'm talking down from suicide that have been in it for such a long time, and they've had their whole reality distorted around them. And sometimes it's family members or friends that are trying to get through. So it's, there's no one glove fits all to bringing a victim out of it. And everyone's journey is unique, even though the fraud follows the same pattern, like we said. But yeah, it's definitely, we need to break the cycle with the stigma and the shame attached to it. And there's people that I follow on here, and when I see someone that's brave enough to tell their story and it's shared in the press or talked about on telly, that you just go to the comment section and I shake with anger because of the lack of education, I think, around how the fraud occurs. They will naturally blame the victim rather than educate themselves on the psychological manipulations that take place for the victim to, to be targeted the way that they are, or for the position that the victim was in to start with when they were targeted. Most of the victims that I talk to, whether they realise it or not, were at a place of, we call it here situational vulnerability, not what people would necessarily class as a vulnerable person. We tend to have a very sort of warped picture of what vulnerable means, I think, but it can mean anyone that's thoroughly overwhelmed with their life at that time. It can be that they're grieving. It can be because they're going through divorce. It could be that they're moving house. It could be because they've been made redundant and they're every day searching for a job. And, the majority of victims that I speak to have had something going on in their life where, psychologists call it a hot state. And it's when they've got these chemicals going on in their body, and it absolutely opens the door for making us more susceptible to manipulation. And there's such a lack of awareness in society about all of this. And it's really quite mind blowing. And I really hope that, thanks so much for putting another space in place for us to talk about it, so that hopefully we can educate people. And it is warming that when you do get to talk to people, they actually start to change their minds about it, but we need the space to discuss it.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And, I cannot really overstate the importance of not blaming the victim, but of also reporting to law enforcement. Because so many victims do not report. And I will tell you from my experience as a criminal, not reporting or not calling the police on me resulted in me keeping on going, because what consequences did I have? None. So it emboldened me to go and commit more crime. And most criminals do not start out as experts, and I was not one that started out as an expert either. But what happens is as I keep going, I get better at it. And if someone would have just, notified law enforcement, if they would have been looking out and building a case and catching all the data and all of that, chances are that I would not have been able to victimize as many people as I did. And so I would urge anyone out there listening, if you know someone, if you have been a victim of a crime, I don't care what the crime is, report that crime. It matters.
It does.
So,
It's
Brett,
so important.
can you guys hear me or no? Do I need to drop?
I hear you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So Brett,
Yes.
I want to thank you for what you just said, and it's really significant, and I'm going to give my own story regarding veterans. So my father died 2 years ago. He was a Vietnam veteran, and I was in spaces before that, right? So normally I wouldn't tell anyone personal details, right? About my family or me, because people are always listening in these spaces. So the way it works is you'll say one thing, maybe your real name in one space, and in another space you'll give the details of where you live. And in another space you'll say, okay, I was a victim of this crime. You now opened yourself up to predators. So after my father died, I was going to spaces that, with my friends that knew, what I was going through on the back end. Like we've met in person, right? And I was talking about it. Well, that, put a target on me, right? And I winded up meeting more veterans that were hosting spaces. And one of them turned out to be Stolen Valor. He was lying, right, about his military background, but I believed him, right, because I feel some type of way for veterans, especially that my dad had just recently died. So I not only put myself at risk, but with that, my followers trusted this guy because they're like, okay, if Scorpio trusts him, I'm going to trust him. So when I found out it wasn't really, I didn't expose it publicly, but I had another veteran that I knew was a real former U.S. military, and he exposed him. They assumed it was me because they know that I have like cybersecurity experience, and this man started telling everyone that I was hacking his space to block me because I could possibly hack into their bank accounts. And not only that, they were gang stalking me here. I didn't know where it was coming from, right? Because he involved a lot of innocent people. So it took me a while to identify everyone, but it literally, what I started to do is jump from space to space to see who was following me. And eventually, after like 2 months, I'm like, okay, I realize who it is, and where it's coming from, and then it stopped. So I appreciate that, Brett, you saying that. It doesn't matter how much someone has experience when you're grieving over something like that. You're a target.
Right. I absolutely agree. And understand. So if I'm trying to scam or defraud someone, I cannot defraud you or scam you unless I get you to somehow trust me. All right. So if I'm looking for information, access, data, cash, what have you, I have to get you to trust me if I'm going to get you to give me that. So how do I get you to do that? That becomes the issue. If you can figure out what it takes for me to gain your trust and then design security around that, you've all of a sudden gotten a leg up on this game of this cybercrime that's going on. So please understand that and understand that if you are somehow, I'm going to say emotionally compromised because I don't have a better word for it. But if you're tending to react emotionally to things, it becomes much easier for me to manipulate you at that point in time. I'm going to try to get you to react emotionally. If you react logically or rationally, chances are you're not going to give me what I want. So if I can get you to do that emotional reaction, and that's where this relationship schemes come in, that operates on emotion, whether it's friendship or someone is convinced that they're in love and they're being loved back by who have you. That matters. So please understand that in my viewpoint, all of this boils down to trust.
Yeah,
That's right. And
Brent. Yeah, sorry, go
we're
ahead.
sorry, as humans, I think people forget that we're predisposed to trust. We're wired in society to do that. We're wired to trust that doctors have got their qualifications, that the food that's on the supermarket shelves hasn't been poisoned. There's so many things in our lives that we have to, let that be, that we just trust it. And that is human nature with us to do so. So they get a leg up already with us. If you're not a skeptical person in any way, they've already got that leg up with knowing that most people will trust given the right stimulus.
Amen. 100%.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, and I have to say, um, in my case, I share a lot of things about me, my life, but okay, I am aware of the risk of sharing so much, but I do it for a purpose that I want actually to people, believe, I don't know, show that I am genuine, I am the person who I say I am. I mean, I am responsible for everything I said. It's me who said it. I'm completely open to that. But okay, and I know the risk that involves. I mean, if they want to put a bullet in my head, they can perfectly know where I'm living. So yeah, I am aware of that. But okay, I assume the risk, and in order to get people to know that, okay, if you have a problem with me, you know where to find me. I have no problem with that. But the limit is, okay, when people around me, okay, I don't actually share anything that can put in risk anybody that is in my life, those that are important for me. Okay, first of all, I think nobody should actually expose people without their consent. If they're in your life, actually, you should ask them if it's okay for you to share anything public about themselves, and it's not okay not to do it without their permission. And second, yeah, I mean, uh, I really I'm not willing to take the risk of them being affected. I wouldn't forgive myself for that causing a damage to them because of the things that I might post online or make publicly. I would like to give Spider the opportunity to introduce himself, but before that, I have to say, I'm in cybersecurity. I have been hacked. I have hacked myself because of curiosity once. I infected myself with a rat because I ended up with all my computers infected. I infected myself, so it's okay, and I can't say it in public. But yeah, I have been hacked without any problem. It's okay. I mean, I'm not perfect, and it's part of the game. Yeah, I mean, whoever claims he's an expert, can never be hacked, but well, wow, my respects. I'm not that kind of person. I'm a person who I have been victim of hacking, and yeah, I have reused credentials that could have used to, I have actually, okay, I will say this, I have actually put in risk my work when I executed that rat, and with that rat, actually, my credentials of a place I was working for the government, not the password, but my email address were dumped on certain forum of hacking. Yeah, and I was, oh my God, when I saw that Googling my name and I saw that dump, I said, oh my God, I didn't care about my Netflix account or Spotify or whatever, but when I saw that about my work, I said, oh my God, shit, I'm so stupid. Yeah, I did that. I made mistakes. Yeah, no, I would like to start. I'm hearing my voice.
And,
Can you?
and Wah, can you raise your hand and just mute your mic? The host is speaking.
Yeah, Spider, can you please introduce, yeah, Spider, your time to introduce yourself, say who you are, what do you do, and yeah, what is your experience in this topic? Thank you for being here.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Spider-Bite. I've been in the anonymous movement since 2009. I'm a black hat hacktivist. We were talking about these scams, romance scams, and what Brett was saying was like getting people's trust, right? Like you need to social engineer. You need to get to know them, and no matter if it takes you a month or a year, you still gonna try to get to know them to get certain type of information, et cetera, et cetera. And like it or not, but I am one of those people that like to for sure social engineer those type of people to give certain type of information. Yeah, it's taken a couple years to get like a few thousand to 100,000 to a million, depending on how much money this person has. It's gonna take, but yeah, I don't want to say too much.
Well,
So
Spider, I want
yeah.
to add on to that. The people that have the most money are the biggest threats, because a hacker isn't going to waste too much time on you if they know that you only got $50 in your bank account. Um, they'll try to get as much as they can from anybody, but they're going to spend most of their effort on, like, say, the Grant Cardone in spaces, you know?
Um, so what I'm a part of and what I've been doing, it's called Demons and Demon Lives, Demon Hosts, etc., etc. You gather so many women, they go on your live and they shake their ass on live, and you're literally scamming like I'd say thousands of people of giving you money for either one to see naked pictures or two to get certain information, etc. But we'll talk more about the
Can
demon
you tell
lives
me
later on.
what they do with naked photos? Because I put up a thread about this, the dangers of women sharing their nudes.
Sure. I can't really talk a lot of shit about other people doing it because obviously I be doing it too. So like, let's say I want to make a ton of money as fast as possible. These demon lives are gonna make you that money fast as possible. Um, you go on Instagram Live and you're watching all these women shaking their ass on live stream for views and for money and promotions and to get their page obviously going. Um, but what I'll do is I'll go to these women and I'll take their videos, I'll take their pictures, and I'll go around and like on the Kick platform, KIK, that was the biggest platform, probably still till this day, to go and scam all these individuals that are so-called romance scam, like flirting with these individuals, getting them to send you money for pictures, videos, etc. And it's a big thing in 2025 for sure. Was that your question?
Yeah. And a lot of people, they'll take, like, like just for instance, say you send a nude to a guy that you're talking to online. If it's a scammer, they'll take your body and put someone else's face on it and upload it to like um Pornhub or places nefarious, things like that. So you don't even realize that, or do the opposite. They might take your face. You don't even realize that you've been exploited like that. And anyone can find, like, nothing on the internet is deleted. So it is dangerous to share anything. And also, if you send something to someone and it's not encrypted, it could be intercepted. So, Elon on X has encrypted chat now, which is safer, but you really don't know what's going to happen. Like, if you send it to a guy that you really do trust, you know them in person, right? Is his phone secure? Or is someone going to somehow get into his phone and now they have all your photos? So I'll land with that.
I wouldn't say it's easy to get into somebody's phone or computer. Like that'd probably be the hardest part of it all. The only way of getting into somebody's phone is that real social engineering, but that's when you really got to talk to them. But you can get their phone number faster than you can get into somebody's computer in general. But once you get that phone number, obviously you can search up more details, get their passwords, their emails, et cetera, from these breaches. But yeah, I wouldn't say it would be easy to get access to somebody's iPhone because not a lot of people know anything about that. If that makes sense.
I did
It's
have,
easy for me. I'm not saying it's easy for everyone.
I did have a victim the other day where her scammer had got into her TikTok. He'd managed to access her login details for that, but she'd started to realise that she was in the fraud, and she'd come to my page on TikTok and was messaging me, how do I know if this one's the real one or not? And I said to her, come and speak to me. She was up in Scotland. Come and speak to me on the phone and I'll chat you through it. And I gave her I've got a number that's not on a contract anywhere to speak with victims with, obviously. And I gave her that number, and he'd got access and immediately was calling me or texting me, telling me, I've been trying to stop all the doubts in this relationship for months now, and you've just ruined it all again. Sorry.
Oh my God. So he started threatening you. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I get death threats quite a lot because the victims, when they come to my pages, obviously, and I help them, they don't realise at that point, they'll go and challenge the scammer and say, look, this page has got the real person. I know that you're not the person in those photographs. And then they'll come and find me in the direct messages from that. You're stopping us getting money. And I get threatened in that way. There's a very unhealthy obsession of sending me porn when they're threatening me for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, yeah. So when I first started hosting spaces on Twitter, I was teaching people how to lock down and secure their personal information. And
Mm,
there were a lot of people, like even the crypto spaces I had spoken and, were speaking out loud against it. And they were really mad, big mad in my DMs.
mm. Yeah, it gets crazy, doesn't it? But the sextortion that you were talking about, it's becoming really big here. It's always been part of the romance fraud. We know that, but in a very different way to how it's done independently. And it's a really, like you were just saying, Scorpio, it's a really big thing to try and get that awareness out there that we just shouldn't do it, however much pressure you feel under. Because I know from the victims that I've had where that's been part of the fraud, that's the last thing they chuck at them when they've been challenged and the game's up, as it were. They'll come back with those photographs. And the majority of victims in those cases had felt pressure because the criminals will send pictures first that they've harvested in most instances from other victims, and they'll send intimate images first. And then, well, are you going to send me some back? You obviously don't trust me as much as I trust you, or you don't care as much about me as I care about you. And there's that whole emotional manipulation going on again. And the victim's normally at that point where they start fearing that if they don't comply with that demand, that they're going to muck up what feels like a really incredible relationship at that point. So they'll end up sending those images and then they're used against them at the very end of the fraud. But it's really
It's
hitting our
called
teens.
sextortion, by the way.
We call it sextortion here. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Let me add on to that. We've got a huge issue in the United States of late teen, early 20 males that are victims of sextortion scams. So how do you stop something like that? That becomes the real question. And the first easy answer is, well, don't send pictures of one-eyed Willie out on the internet. That's the first answer. All right. And understand that no one wants to see that. The Picasso didn't paint it. Rembrandt didn't make it. It's something that no one wants to see. Probably the woman that you're with doesn't want to see the damn thing. That's why they turn the lights out a lot of the time. So
They're not pretty.
a man is not a woman.
Amen.
Let's be honest about that.
I would
All
love
right.
to add on to that too.
I
So, ladies,
block.
Understand.
Listen, every person that on Twitter that has sent me a dick pic has automatically gotten blocked, and
Right.
I might
Isn't
think
it?
of distributing it to everyone just to prove a point, but that's a crime in and of itself.
Right. But understand what we're saying here. It's, as a male, we tend, like, I've got a face for radio, and I know of some hot, I'm 55 years old. I know of some hot, 20-year-old or 25-year-old woman reaches out to me that, hey, that's a scam, because I know my place in the universe these days. A lot of males are not like that. A lot of males are they fall for these types of schemes. If you're in your late teens, you don't have, your brain isn't even developed yet. And especially if you're a male, your brain's not fully developed until you're 23, 24 years old. So you're not able automatically to make these rational decisions. And I talked earlier about blaming the victim. This is one of these things where we absolutely blame that victim. We will blame that male that sends that dick pic out. Why in the hell did you do that? That's what we ask. And that's one of the things that we need to get past. Once that action has happened, you don't blame anyone. And even you need to really take these steps before that action happens. Are you one of these parents that actually takes the time out to speak to your child? Or do you hand your child that tablet, that PlayStation 5, that cell phone, and say, leave me the hell alone? Because that matters. Are you the parent? Like, if I've got two stepsons, and the way that I will talk to my stepsons is different than the way that their mother will talk to them. I'm able to look at my stepsons and say, hey, have you sent a cock pic out to anybody? I'm able to say that. And they're able to look at me like, like, oh, holy hell, he did not say that. But yes, I've said that. Now their mom can't say that. But you need to know how to talk to your child. And you need to be talking to your child. You need to be able to have that conversation. Like with my youngest, I'm saying, hey, don't send a dick pic out. Nobody wants to see that shit. If you do that and someone comes and they're trying to blackmail you, come to me. It's going to be all right. So I'm able to joke around about it and have that conversation. A mother has to have a more serious conversation about it, all right? A more heartfelt conversation. So understand how to communicate with your child, have that conversation so that if that stuff does happen, they're able to come to you and say, hey, yeah, okay, maybe I was a dumbass, but this is what happened and I need help with this. Because if they're not able to come to you, a lot of these people that are being victims of sextortion, they're committing suicide.
They
And
are.
that's something you can't take back.
We've actually, on that, I mean, this is a little bit away from romance scams, isn't it? But it is linked in some respects. And we've got an amazing protect officer here down in Dorset, and he ran a pilot this year with some year 9s. So here, that's age 14, so 13 and 14-year-olds. And he ran a pilot in school, which was a series of 22 lessons about all different types of cyber crime and abuse. And I got asked to do the romance, fraud and sextortion one. And I delivered an hour presentation to 3 classes in this academy. And those kids were so receptive, and the feedback that came afterwards, they produced the most incredible work off of the back of it. I showed them how AI is being used as well, the Nudify or Undress AI apps that are available, even if they don't send those images, although they tend to only work on females at the minute. But it's a really big thing, and they were so receptive. They created these incredible posters. They created raps. They created poems, all about either romance, fraud or sextortion. And it actually came back as being their favourite lesson. I think it's really important that if we can get in there at an early age, like you're saying, Brett, that prevent making them aware of this can happen and the best course of action to take. And of course, as you were saying, if they do end up getting entangled on Snapchat, where they all start and moving over to Instagram normally, it is okay, and it will be okay, and putting that safeguarding in place to show them to keep safe and how to get safe afterwards.
Yeah, I would like to ask a question because, okay, first of all, I would never send a dick pic to a woman because first, I always said they would need a microscope to see it, and yeah, so it's useless, so it's just a picture. But anyway, I don't think that any romance scam actually starts with sending that kind of content because, of course, no woman is that you cannot try to seduce a woman with a dick pic because that is something that, I mean, from the perspective of a woman, is something that they don't want to see. They're looking for in a person, a man, another things of attributes, not a picture of certain part of their body. So there, no romance scammer is going to get anybody from a woman except from being blocked by sending that. On the other hand, men are the opposite. If the man says he's a hot woman, like Greg was saying, and I was saying also that I get all these DMs every day for all these hot women having a crush on me and blah, 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 with compliments, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm the best, but now Brett tell me that, oh no, now I'm realizing that, yeah, that I'm not that good looking, and yeah, they are not real, but that's terrible. Yeah, it's the opposite. So no, the dick pics in particular, the dick pics, from my point of view, is not something that is at all related to, romance scams. In case of, I mean, when it comes to women, and men, that, I think we are mostly targeted and victims of that. Okay, but the approach when it comes to dick pics in particular is not. I once got a woman who was stalking me and sent me messages, and then a picture of her boobs. And I said, okay, I think I have just been the first person who have defined what it is an unsolicited book pic. Yeah, I mean, men also get that, and I don't want to see that. Scorpio, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, even in these Twitter spaces, it's dangerous, right? Like, so a lot of people will, if you're in Twitter spaces with them a lot, right? Whether it's a man or a woman, a bond starts to be created where you have people that start to stalk you and become obsessed with you because in their mind they think, oh my God, they're going to be my girlfriend one day. They're going to be my boyfriend one day. And it's not even like based on any reality, right? It's not even like that, say, Alberto, if I use you, you didn't even have to give that person any indication that you were interested in dating. Shit, you could be married right now, right? But they will take it as, oh, he likes me and maybe one day, we'll have a relationship, and they will start stalking every single woman that you're connected to in here. And, you guys got to understand, it's very psychotic, and I think social media amplifies the mental illness in the world. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Spider.
Spider, go ahead, Spider.
So I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. Like I don't really care much people scamming grown people. It's where the children come into play. So I didn't explain the reason on why I do what I do on, I guess I would say, scamming grown folks. Like normally when I'm going for grown people, I'm looking for a certain type of people. I'm looking for that trafficker. I'm looking for the predator. And the biggest platform that I go on is Roblox, right? So I pretend obviously that I'm a little kid, a little 12-year-old, and I'm just flirting with everybody. I'm trying to find this predator. I'm trying to find this trafficker. And it comes to the point where it goes even deeper than that, right? So you got these kids, not even, I didn't even mean to do it. It just came about. So this person came to my Discord server and I put out a bait software. It's a stealer. It's some type of malware that goes straight to your Discord webhook. So I put out this stealer for people that come to me and want to download it, et cetera, et cetera. You obviously got to purchase like $5, $10 to make it more believable that it's an actual tool, it's actual software. But I've caught a lot of predators, a lot of traffickers just by doing this romance so-called scam. Um, and it turned out like it's not even just the grown folks that's doing the romance scam. It's these kids that's doing it to other kids as well on video games. And I think that's the biggest thing that we really have to keep an eye on, because it does lead to parents' credit card information. It does lead to parents' credentials like passwords, emails, etc., etc. And it's just gonna keep going on and on and on until we can put a stop to it. But in order to do that, we have to be that also person to be the one flirting, to be the one that's actually trying to find these people and catch them, etc. But I do agree with y'all on the whole romance scam.
So, Spider, I think it was in November or October, I watched Ryan Matta's documentary Trafficked, and I was in spaces with him for a while, actually hosting with him. All he had to give me was Save the Children, and it took me about like a month to map out all the migrant children from the southern border, and how they are, like, how the NGOs that are involved in it. It's like 9,000 organizations, and how they were using the CBP1 app. Have you looked into it deeply?
That I have not known.
Yeah, so it is the most sophisticated operation that it comes all the way from the United Nations. There's like 20 organizations that were involved in migrating children worldwide. But it's hard I tried to, like, on the back end, we created like a Discord and a Telegram because I wanted to teach people in America how to map out their own state and how to be aware in their local area. But everyone talks about they want to save the children, but they don't actually want to pay attention to how they're being trafficked. So, like, what do you recommend in that situation to get awareness for the average person?
Especially when it comes to children, like parents should really watch on like what their children are doing on video games, because video games is obviously going to be the most popular thing in this world, especially in 2025. So like watching them children, like who they're talking to, don't let them download Discord, don't let them download Telegram, don't let them download all these social media platforms to go talk with their friends. Like that's where things are getting a little dark, because the parents aren't realizing that, okay, it's probably not a child that they're talking to. I mean, it could be, yeah, it could be, but 9 times out of 10, it's probably a grown man or a grown woman talking to that child, trying to steal their credentials or try to get more pictures or to get that address to go pick them up or go get them at the school. And then there goes the trafficking. Like, like there's so many different ways and algorithms of a predator or a trafficker to go after that child. But yeah, video games for sure. 5M is another big one that I've caught a lot of predators on. People like to play
Heard of that one.
GTA. Yeah, people like to play GTA and like to role play, and 5M, you got like sex animations and all that kind of stuff. So you got like kids like 14 years old having sex with like 36 to 40 years old. Like, like there's so many different ways of catching that person.
I'm also online safety lead at school because I'm a primary school teacher in my paid job. And it's really interesting hearing you say that, because it's something we have a real struggle with parents, getting them to actually take notice, because you can guarantee that the parents who believe that their kids are safe online are the ones that will say they'll never be a victim of fraud. It will never happen to me. It's those words. And it's the same parents that aren't taking care of their kids. And I've just put a presentation together, and here in the UK, we've been trying to push, if you haven't got your kid a phone already, go back to giving them a brick. If it's a brick being the not smartphones, the old Nokias, the 3110s, that they allow you to text and they allow you to make a phone call, but they don't attach to the internet. And if a kid needs a phone because they have to travel quite a way to school and back, and it's a safety issue, let them be able to text and make a phone call, but just keep them off the internet, because like you've just said, that's all of those apps, the chat platforms, everything is where the nasties are lurking.
Yeah, but I have to say something about that is interesting, Spider. When you are doing all these kind of things in order to identify these predators, okay, I was expecting, they say the rule of the internet is, on the internet, men are men, women are men, and children are FBI undercover agents. Okay, but I don't know doing what you are doing, actually, you are putting yourself to a risk, doing that job. That is actually something that is, wow, is exposing people that are doing bad things to children or doing things that are not okay. But you are doing that, you are actually being sometimes punished. Not you. People like you are being actually the ones who are punished, and those who are being reported are the ones who get don't get any punishment at all. Is that correct, Spider? And if so, why do you do that?
What was your question?
My question is, okay, you are doing something that is amazing, but you are doing that something that is illegal and can put you in trouble. You are reporting predators, but at the end, you can people like you probably are being punished much more than those who are those predators you are reporting, right?
Yeah, I can agree. Like what really got me into it was Operation Darknet. Operation Darknet, we were out and catching traffickers and predators from the dark web, et cetera, et cetera. That's what really got my interest in helping children and pushing forward in the trafficking and the predators. But when it comes to like getting caught because I'm doing something illegal to help the people, I've been doing it since 2011 was when I really got active into the anonymous operations. So it's like exposing on what needs to be exposed to the public, no matter what. And if I'm gonna get caught exposing it to the public because I know it's the right thing to do, the people have to know on what's going on around you, not just the FBI, the government in general. And if you're getting caught for doing something good, there's a big problem right there.
Then I
Spider, I have a
identified there a
question.
big problem that, okay, in my case, my experience was being sent to prison for reporting a system that was exposing 200,000 medical records, and my price was not even cents, but being sent to prison. Okay, I was doing the right thing, and I was paid that way because of different reasons that are not important. But okay, you are doing something. Okay, the question is, okay, basically then those who are supposed to do those good things are not doing their job, and somebody else has to do what's right. I mean, I cannot stand seeing being in front of something that is not okay. Somebody who is abusing of somebody who cannot protect themselves, okay, that is not okay. So something is failing here. I think the law enforcement, the justice system is not actually doing what they're supposed to do. What are your thoughts about this?
So, Spider, I have a question for you, and I'm gonna send you a profile. This is a while back that I had found that was in Spaces. So it's basically it's a Canadian. He was pretending to be an American military person. It was during the Russia-Ukraine when it first started, and they were hosting Spaces. And he was convincing everyone that he was on the ground in the Ukraine. But another military uh, person, ex-military, challenged him somehow. Like, I don't know exactly what he said, but he exposed him to not be who he was, and he just blocked everyone, right? But once it came to my attention, right, because he does have his real name, and I found out he was Canadian, I started to research in Canada because people don't realize this. When you Google someone's information and they're not from the country, you're not going to find information. You have to use, Google has a different version in every country, depending on what country you're in. So once it came to my attention, I found a whole bunch of photos under a Flickr account that he had of underage women. Also, it led me to like Facebook where he's pretending to be a cross dresser, and it was insane. Like he's still here, he still has this, but I didn't know if he was just mentally ill, right? Because he's like an older man, or if he's really doing these things. Um, how, like, if you don't mind, if I send you his profile, would you be able to check it out?
Of course. But it's also crazy when you say that, like, because I know people, I'm not gonna say they're good people, and I'm not gonna give out their names. But I know people that will actually use AI and pretend that they're in the military. So let's say they're like one of your family members is in the military, right? Like one of my buddies were developing this AI. It's a voice AI. You can hear the real voice of somebody if you can get a recording of somebody's voice. So he literally got recording of the guy that was in the military, and he used that and contacted this family, and was like that he was very injured. He got bombed or whatever it may be, and it got to the point where this family sent him, like, it was like $57,000 because he faked somebody from being in the military and was using AI for that. And yeah, I just wanted to put light onto that as well.
We're seeing since it was about September, October 22, the use of AI starting in the romance fraud, bringing it back to romance fraud. And the voice cloning has got to the point where it's almost indistinguishable with just 30 seconds of someone's voice. Like you're just saying, if you can download it from a video, just 30 seconds, you can then type to speech whatever you want it to say and send it in voice notes and things, as well as if you've got the software to do it even with voice changing over the phone. Absolutely frightening. And then obviously to legitimise with the online romance fraud particularly, we're seeing so many now. It's not deep fake as such as it's face swap or shallow fake technology with just one picture where they can now sit on the live video calls with that mask, as it were, superimposed over their face to look like the person in the photos that they've stolen. But the most thing that I'm seeing is the lip syncing. So where the AI's lip syncing, they've downloaded a video and then they can clone a voice as well and then type to speech, and it lip syncs onto that saved down video what they want it to say. So it will be saying things like, just so that you know I'm not a scammer, and saying the victim's name and talking about things that they've already talked about to legitimise it further. So I see this all the time with the victims now. I get that sent in from victims, but I also see it in the scammer groups where they're training each other to use it. So it's really becoming a huge part now of legitimising the deceit, as it were. And it's we've even got some experts here that didn't really understand what those videos were, and it just shows how good they're becoming. I know when it very first started, they were pretty rubbish. They were really, especially the video calls, they were pretty cartoonish. And it was what gave the scammers away a lot of the time. But they have got to the point now where they're incredibly realistic, and all of those safeguards that we could say before about ask them to move their head from side to side because it would stretch the image too much, and they couldn't open their mouth because it couldn't work the mouth movement when it opened the mouth. But all of that's kind of disappearing now. So it's getting harder and harder to distinguish, especially when a lot of people don't even realise that this technology exists. And it's the biggest thing when they come to me and say, I know it's the person in the photos because I've seen them on the video call, and then I have to go and show them how it's done. So it's just making it all virtually impossible for victims to tell. It's really sad.
Yes, and I would like to ask you something, Anna, because years ago, okay, I got a picture of somebody or something, and using the reverse image search of Google, for example, was a very useful tool to identify, okay, a person or a place or if that picture appear anywhere else on the internet. In the case of people, okay, if somebody was sending me a picture of himself or herself, okay, doing that, I could see if it was or not to appear in other places. Right now, I find it like so complicated in order to when it comes to people, reverse image search, with traditional search engines is so limited, I assume, because of the legislation regarding privacy. So what can people do in order to verify those kind of content? Are there available tools out there that can be accessible for anybody that are not paid, or if they're paid, they are at a reasonable price? How can that be done?
Yeah. It's definitely the free tools have become virtually pointless now. Google, used to be really good. Tin Eye was one of the originals that you never ever get a hit with an image now. Bing used to be okay for faces that were quite public. Yandex is probably the best free one at the moment, but it's not fabulous because they are the technology where it's just trying to look for that particular image. So the best ones are most definitely the ones that use AI to measure the markers on the face, and then they trawl the internet to match those markers. But they are paid for services and they are really, really expensive. So you've got PIM eyes, and then there's Face Check ID, and there's also another one now called Clarity Check. But they are really, really expensive. But what you can do is do free searches. They give you X amount of free searches per day. So you can do the search on the face, and the biggest red flag is going to be if there is a whole ton of profiles, obviously using that face, multiple profiles on each platform. So that's your first indication, which is huge. And then what I do is actually save those photos, and then I run them back through all of the different free searches. And 8 times out of 10, I will get a hit on who the real one is, but you have to be really methodical. While we've been sitting here, I've been sent some asking, do I know who it is? And on the photographs of this particular gent whose photos have been stolen, and it is really obvious, he's actually got his username. He's been a good guy and he's put his username across the photographs. So just by doing that search on a free search, I've just been able to find him because I'm just scouring the photographs to look for clues on that one. And it's worked. So you just have to be really tenacious with looking for them. I have got on the Lovestead website, there's a whole toolkit that you can go through and read on how to do what I've just explained. It's in there's a general resources section on the Lovestead website, and there's a toolkit, there's an actual reverse search page on there, and the toolkit is attached to that. So do go and have a look as a way to try and safeguard yourself in the meantime. But if you can't do it, I'm always happy to have a try to see, because that can be one of the biggest things, especially with friends and family, if they can show the victim the real person in the photographs. But I will always caveat that with, I've got a post that talks about all the excuses that the scammers use when they are challenged with that real profile. So I've got some of the formats from the scammer groups and all the excuses that I've heard over the years that they use, like my ex hacked it. She still posts as if we're together because she can't accept the ending of the relationship, or, I've had people stealing my photos for years. So I now use a private profile with a different name so that I can use social media as I want to, all those kinds of excuses. So there's lots of things we need to do to help victims through it, and that is a really good one if the
Yeah,
scams haven't.
before we go to Brent, it's really interesting the fact that when you start challenging those scammers, how they become aggressive and defensive, and they are starting accusing you of questioning them who have good intentions, and they try to make you feel bad. That is really interesting. Okay, when that happens, I smile and okay, and it's like, oh, this is beautiful. It's me who is behaving in a bad way, and you are the good guy. It's incredible. Brave, go ahead, please.
No, and I appreciate, what you said there, Alberto. It's one of those. So I'm the guy that social engineered the Secret Service. I am. I got them to trust me, and I screwed them over, and I paid the consequences for that. This idea of foisting the defense upon the victim of, when they question me, I'm going to immediately question them in return and cause them to be on the defensive. That's a technique that works like an absolute fucking charm. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to, the reason I raised my hand to speak, Spider mentioned it, Anna followed up on this idea of AI. I am very fortunate these days that I'm on the good guys side and I get to work with a lot of people who are in the industry of the AI industry. What we're seeing right now, and it's really interesting, you're seeing criminals that yes, they are using AI. To be honest with you, more criminals are talking about using AI than they are using it. And the reason for that is it's not really been refined enough. It's not cheap enough. It's not ubiquitous enough. The user interface is not good enough. Blah, 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 blah. That equates to a lot of criminals that want to use it, but they're not. Now you are seeing some that are, and Spider mentioned that and Hannah followed up on that. The reason I've mentioned this is that 18 months from now, that game is going to look completely different. 18 months
Yes.
from now, you're not going to have to worry about using 10i to try to find out whose identity a romance scammer has stolen, because he's not stolen anyone's identity. He's created that person
Yeah.
synthetically through AI. All right.
Yeah.
And once you combine synthetic fraud with AI and mix that all together to come up with some profile on a romance site or a dating site, that game changes completely at that point in time. So please understand that, and understand that, we're talking about deep fakes, whether that be audio, whether it be video, or whether it be a combination of the two. 18 months from now, it's going to be very easy for someone to have a real-time conversation with that potential victim. Right now, you can't really do that. But 18 months from now, yeah, that shit's going to happen. And when that happens, understand that the internet changes completely at that point in time. The potential of getting to the point of society getting to the point of not being able to trust anything that they see or hear is extremely realistic. All right. So that's where this thing could go at the end of the day. And I'm not just talking about romance scams. This takes place in business email compromise. It takes place in account takeovers and any aspect that you could possibly imagine, and in any type of motivation. Remember I said the motivations for attacks are status, cash, ideology. Cash is the easiest one, but ideology, you take someone that's pissed off about you, toward you, or someone that has an agenda. When you get to the point with these deep fakes that you're able to have a real-time conversation, that you're not able to really look at and figure out whether it's fake or not, that changes things completely. And with that, guys,
I have to say
I'm
something.
sorry, but I have to go as well. Spider, it has been an absolute pleasure listening to you speak. Scorpio, Alberto, you are outstanding as always. And Anna, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And for everyone who's tuned in, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen. I wish I could stay longer because I'm learning a lot myself, but you guys take care.
Take care, Brett, and thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. Take care, and thank you so much for having me here. Talk to you later.
Yes,
And
sir.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to say that I know who you are, and I am also a fan of your work, etc.
Well, Spider, I tell you, man, what I would say to you is keep talking, dude. Seriously, keep coming out to these spaces. I know you did a Darknet's Diary and things like that. Keep up what you're doing, and man, just watch out for yourself, okay?
Of course, you too.
All right, brother. Take care. Bye.
You too.
Yeah,
But
we have a new person
Alberto,
here. Sorry, that's by the way.
I'd like to say something for everybody that's talking about open source intelligence. Like that's real common now. It used to not be called open source intelligence. It used to just be doxing, getting people's information, finding people's information as fast as possible, and then leaking out to the public. I'm gonna post something probably in the next probably couple days, of what I do for open source intelligence, aka doxing. I'm really big into the doxing part, not really in the whole legal, because obviously doing it legally is not going to get you all the answers that you want to. So you have to take it a little bit further, and the government's obviously going to call it doxing, which is the illegal part. But I do have a couple courses and written out programs that I use to either find missing people, catch predators and traffickers as fast as possible. And yeah, I just wanted to bring that to light as well.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, exactly. For example, somebody who claims, okay, he's a military in certain place in Afghanistan that is going to move to certain place in the USA, okay, and that person having trouble because they are going to take a flight, and they got arrested in custom because they found bars of gold with him, and he needs a lawyer, he needs money, so blah, 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 and then he misses the flight, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, who's the name of that person? Okay, Afghanistan, okay, just doing or seemed, yeah, with information out there, actually you can confirm that is correct, that is consistent, that is something that, yeah, or something that you can discard. No, this is completely not possible. This information is false. So this is not happening, and it's not that complicated right now with Gemini. Mostly, I find it fascinating how much you can deep research on certain things and people and situations and topics. It's really amazing. And really, if you have a question about anything, okay, if you know how to prompt it, it's really surprising. I mean, and this is every day it's getting better and better. It's something that is huge. So I know I would like to say something. Oh, sorry. Harrieta was having the hand up for a long time. Hi.
Oh, hi, Albert. Your co-host, Scorpio, she threatened to find me and punch my face.
because you were blaming, let me see, Cash Patel.
You're a liar. I didn't
Cash
blame Cash
Patel.
Patel
Why
anything.
can't I mute your mic? So you were in a space, right? Blaming General Flynn, Cash Patel, and Sun Tzu as being pedophiles, no? Okay.
Well, this is one of the things that happens when you are opening spaces. I mean, yeah, this
Oh,
happens.
and Liz Crokin too. They're blaming for being a pedophile.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, we have to deal with these kind of things. I mean, who is right, who is wrong? Okay, people come at me and faces to troll me sometimes, telling me I am stupid, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. I mean, I treat them, what they want is a reaction on me, and then they won't get a reaction. I just tell them, how do you know I'm stupid? You know me from somewhere in particular? Yeah, I'm stupid. But I don't know. I mean, how can we tell certain facts? I mean, you, Scorpion, yesterday, when I sent you a DM, I mean, uh, and why did you pay attention to that DM? I mean, I'm curious because,
Because there's a lot of things going on in these spaces that people are unaware of. So it's not just romance scams.
mhm.
There's, I believe, people are trafficking people, and it's deep. It's real deep. And what I see from my perspective right now is Donald Trump, our president of the United States, has activated people to, the FBI, Cash Patel, and Homeland Security to arrest these people, and they're getting arrested. And the more and more people that are getting arrested, the more these influencers are attacking Trump and his cabinet in the United States. So, you can say whatever you want. You cannot like my president, right? I'm from the U.S. But to call him a trafficker, and these are foreigners that are doing it, is insane. He put in an executive order the first time he became president to combat trafficking. And, uh, it's just when like someone like Liz Crokin, who's a victim, is getting attacked and we cleared her name, 2 days ago when they started this BS, right? By someone like Kumar, who's in like India, and like, Truth Teller, who's a Canadian and pretends to be, a Russian white guy. And now they have they have a whole network, and you stupid idiots, and I'm sorry to say it this way, are defending people that are involved in various dangerous things. So yes, when you're in a space and you're attacking Patriot, right? Because your friends called him, what do you call it? How'd they say it? Trump and MAGA are protecting pedophiles. When you say that and you're attacking my friend, I'm going to come in and protect him. So
I'd like to say something too.
sure.
Sorry to cut you off. Like, before exposing something or talking about something about somebody, like, have that factual proof of something before you even go ahead and try embarrassing that person and trying to ruin their life, because that's something that can ruin somebody's life. And they will take upon and will commit suicide depending on how deep that conversation is, or how bad that the whatever you're trying to expose on that person is. And I just want to put that out. Exposing, you better have actual proof before saying something and doing something about it. But yeah, sorry to cut you off.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's very dangerous for us to get it wrong. Like, I don't use pedophile loosely. Sean Diddy, yeah, I mean, I might say it, but someone that exposed Pizzagate like Liz Crokin is now being accused of being involved. That's harmful. So I'm going to let you up, Henrietta, but if you try to disrupt this space, I'm going to boot you, because this isn't about your feelings towards me.
Yeah, this is about actually romance scams, but it's also about interactions on the internet, trust, credibility, who is who.
I didn't
Anna,
call
you
anybody a
mentioned.
pedophile. I didn't.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this space is not about pedophiles or I don't know. Anna, you mentioned in one of the videos, trust is probably a way of, okay, reducing the risk of interacting with somebody who is not who he claims he is. How do you think, I mean, the social networks are working and doing on that particular topic of, I don't know, verifying the identity of people, their users, in order to, okay, to reduce the risk of talking with somebody from Laos, Nigeria, thinking that you're talking with a beautiful woman I don't know, in Europe, in Paris. Yeah, how do you see that the platforms can improve that trust?
I think that the biggest thing that we can do to help victims, because once they're in it, there are no red flags anymore. They become beige flags because you've already been manipulated to be in it. So I think the best way that we can help victims is to recognise healthy boundaries and to help them recognise about themselves as well. So I work with some amazing academics and people. I've got such an interest in the psychological side of this as well, the psychology side of it. And it's really important that we recognise and remember, my experience wasn't an economic one. Mine was an individual here in the UK. He was a lawyer, is a lawyer, who was leading a double life with a fake identity. And the intent behind his fake life, he came offline. He used dating sites as a way to hunt for his victims. He was using it like a sweet shop to look for particular types of individuals, like Spider was saying earlier. And it wasn't me, but a therapist or a counsellor that said, when I explained to her about him, to go and research narcissists and psychopaths, basically. And it was that opened my eyes as to how he had manipulated me. as an individual, because I had never ever experienced the kind of interaction and relationship that I had with him ever before in my life. And it's something that unless you've experienced it, it's really, really hard to understand. But also anyone that has had a toxic relationship, it's exactly the same behavioural process as in a domestic violence relationship. And when I started to help victims and they were sending me their messages from their scammers, and I'd actually never heard of those back in 2017. I didn't even know those criminals existed. And they were telling me that they'd never met the person. I'd learnt the term catfish at that point. And I'd also just learnt to do reverse searches, because they just started being done back then. And I was taking the photographs, and like we said earlier, it used to be quite easy to find pictures using those search engines, although it isn't anymore because they just don't really work. So I realised that it was stolen photos that were being used in, and it was a financial intent. But the messages that they'd sent me prior to the money ask absolutely paralleled the messages that I had been sent by my abuser. So I could see a really specific pattern of grooming going on, where they're getting to know who that person is. They're pulling information out about them so that they can start mirroring the same qualities as that person. So you've got those shared values, which is a really important way of, the social engineering and building trust. And then the love bombing starts. So it happened with me, and you're literally showered with attention and affection like 24 hours a day. It's really overwhelming. And you are made to feel like you're the most important person in that character's life. And obviously it is a character that's been created, whether it's a person in real life or whether it's one of these online criminals. So you have love bombing, and it's so intense. And then I'm sure you have the name over there as well. It's coercive control. So what we would consider coercive and controlling behaviour within domestic abuse relationships, the same kind of behaviours are used within the fraud, where they will start isolating the victim away from friends and family because they don't want that outside influence to come in and say, actually, you need to not be talking to them. Something's not right. They don't want that. They're working hard to build all of that trust before the money ask comes. And it's within that time as well that they are using what they can in terms of software. And while I appreciate that for people that know about these tools, we can still pull out the things that we might be able to spot. But we do have to remember that the majority of the public don't know that software exists. And so even though it's not up to scratch at the minute, they still can get away with using the rudimentary software that's there at the moment. But Brett's absolutely right. The evolution of it, even from where I've seen it start, it's evolved so much in quality, and it's not quite 100% yet, but it's pretty amazing. So the best thing that we can do with victims is to get them to recognise that what a healthy relationship looks like, and a healthy relationship builds over time. It's not something that happens very quickly and moves very fast. So a lot of these created relationships seem to happen incredibly fast. They move fast. People fall in love very quickly. For me, that's a really hard one because I don't ever connect with people on a romantic level very much. But when I do, I fall hard and fast, and it's not happened very much in my life, but I do. And that's kind of what happens in these relationships naturally, but that's not to say that it's good. And if ever you come across a person who has interacted with you in that way, and it seems to be building really, really quickly, you just need to take a step back for that and recognise that that's actually not healthy. And whether it's an online romance criminal that's doing it for a purpose, or whether it's actually an individual with a narcissistic or psychopathic behaviour disorder that's going to end up in a toxic relationship, you want to run. whatever the instance is. So whether it's that kind of relationship, whether it's an in-person romance fraudster or whether it's an online one, if you feel overwhelmed and that things are moving really, really quickly, really fast, it's best to take a step back and just take 5, ask a friend before it gets too much, before you're isolated, to come and have a look at it with you. And that's the best we can hope for. But of course, when we're getting bombarded with requests on the daily or direct messages, there are things we can look for on those profiles that are red flags still at that point. So I'm sure Spider knows all the kind of professions that are used, and military does remain one of the top professions that they use, because going back to the nature of trust, military is seen as a trusted and really brave profession. So they're a great profession to use for people, someone that people admire and they do trust. It also means that they've got the excuse of being away and deployed, and of course it's a really great way then, because it's a dangerous profession as well, to build in all of those money asks and demands where there's fear involved with the money ask. And that's a really great way to get somebody to act, isn't it, the way that you want them to. Doctors are used very much within the military as well, or with the UN. Pilots too are used within the UN or military professions. And then we've got the engineers, contractors, and they're used very, very much as big overseas projects where they have invoice or accidents where machinery gets broken and they need to help to pay with machinery and things like that. So they're probably the biggest professions to look out for. Anyone that says they're an offshore worker, that's another one of the biggest ones. The offshore oil rig workers or marine engineers, anything to do with oil and gas. Again, because it means they're always working away, and they're quite mysterious, those professions. And unless you know people that work in them, it's quite easy for the scammers to exploit the terms that are real in those respects. So they're things to look out for on profiles. Being widowed is another thing that's nearly always on their profiles. They always have a sad backstory about being orphaned. I call it the 4 C's when they're telling their story, that their wife either died in a car crash, in childbirth, of cancer, or they cheated on them with their best friend. And then in COVID, we had COVID as well. But they all tend to have that same kind of story, because it's evoking empathy, isn't it, as they're starting to build the trust. So there are things we can look out for. I always say to people, be really nosy on the profiles, especially when profiles have been hacked or they're being used to scam when they belong to someone else. You can go into the tagged section. Sometimes that hasn't been cleaned out when they swap the photos out. Go through the followers, check where the demographic is. Does it match with the people in the photographs? Have the photos all been loaded up on a very close date or on the same date? So there's definitely things to look for.
I'd like to speak on something that you're talking about real quick.
Yeah.
So you're talking about, like, watch out for them profiles. Like,
Mm.
I wouldn't even say that, because like, the source to every scammer behind them is a hacker, because they need the tools, obviously need the software, they need the knowledge, they need everything that they can get to be that person that they want to become as a scammer. Like, hacking profiles, like somebody's account, for example, right? Like Instagram. I've hacked numerous accounts, like celebrities, just high profile demons, which is like the person that goes out and shakes ass, et cetera, et cetera. And then the scammer will actually buy that demon account from the hacker to pretend that they are that person.
Yeah.
And they will catch a lot of people on that, but it gets even deeper than just the scamming itself, right? Like, scamming could be in so many different ways. Like the profile, A profile to me is first and last name, social security number, credit score, and then you upload it either to Doxbin or you just have it on Telegram, et cetera, et cetera. And then you use it to identity theft, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many different algorithms and ways to catch somebody's identity, and it's hard to catch that scammer because you can portray as that person easy. Like it's way easier nowadays than what it was back then because of the AI and the pictures, etc. And I can always create another picture of somebody else and then upload it, and then it's just gonna keep going and going and going, and I'm just growing that content off of somebody that I'm not, right? So it's like, how are we gonna stop that from happening than to keep talking about it, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think we're probably coming at that from a bit of a different angle there. I'm talking about the newbies that are scamming, that they literally, if they've got a popular face that's used, for example. I've just, while we've been speaking, I've had a profile follow me that I've just blocked that's using a really famous Brazilian doctor who's been used probably for 10 years. His name's Dr. Eduardo Luis Oliveira, Brazilian doctor. And he used to have an account on Instagram called Guiano, and he removed them about 2017 because after appearing in a paper, the scammers came and they screen grab or save down all of his photographs. And he's probably on about 500 profiles at a time, where they will use his pictures as a doctor, because doctors are really great professions for the scammers to use. But I know that the scammers do trade hacked accounts as well, because they're not as easy to get removed off of the platforms when they're older profiles as well, because they hack a lot of. I've had tons of victims where they've gone in and hacked them afterwards as well, but they don't get removed as easily as the newly made ones, because they're the ones that are sending signals when they get reported. Having
Can I
with the
say
social
something?
media. Yeah.
So when it comes to reporting, obviously people are going to come to me and say that they need a page gone and they need something gone. And normally
Yeah.
when you're getting like an identity or somebody off the internet, off this social media, they have to show like a face ID, et cetera, to show, oh, that's not that person, I am that person. You show the ID to Instagram, whatever, and then once you upload that ID, they don't even scan the ID. Like I can make as many fake IDs and then just upload it on
Yeah.
Instagram just to report, just to get the account gone. It's easy, and it's pretty sickening if you ask me.
Yeah, and Alberto and I were talking about this earlier, that the platforms don't do enough in any way, shape or form to remove the fake profiles. I mean, this is obviously something else that I do, as well as helping support victims, is we try and report as many of those profiles as we can. And we do have a couple of people that have got direct contact with Meta, for example, where we can list all the usernames and they will just take them down on the given that they trust that we know what the fake ones are, because we recognise the faces and things. But it is always, going back to the victim blaming, it's always that the onus is on the victim to have to be reporting those profiles. And isn't it very much the case that the platforms themselves should be doing so much more to stop those profiles being set up in the first place, especially when they're using faces that are already all over profiles on their platforms?
Yeah, I have to say something regarding that. In my case, okay, I gave up. I mean, I regularly check what appears about me out there here on Twitter or searching the web. And okay, a couple of years ago, I realized there was a profile completely like mine, my profile picture, my name, everything, the description, everything exactly my profile. Only that, okay, have a couple of followers, was following a couple of people. Of course, I reported that to Twitter, and of course, me being with the check mark, being ID verified, as Spider said, having sent a passport to Twitter in order for them to have in my badge, people can click and see ID verified. Okay,
Yeah,
I took for granted that, okay, that this profile is going to be gone tomorrow. No, I reported it like 3 times. It's just still there. So I gave up. I just don't care more about that. But I am the worst person actually to take the account impersonate, because who would trust in a hacker who presents himself as a hacker who has been sent to prison? I mean, who would like to be me to scam somebody?
So what
oh
they do is and Instagram is a big problem, right? Because these people share their whole lives, videos, photos, where they're from. So what a scammer will do is just take their entire identity, right?
yeah,
Use a different name and go on a
yeah,
different platform. And if you reverse search their photo, it's going to point you to a real person, right?
yeah,
And, and that's the issue. They're using, in most cases, a real person and just pretending to be them. So I am
yeah.
really a Scorpio, just FYI. It's my zodiac sign.
Oh, yeah, that's what I've got a case at the minute, Spider, where we've been reporting. So, it's a celebrity scam, and it's someone it's a profile that somebody's found, and it's got Kevin Costner's pictures, and it's got Kevin Costner in the username, but in the about section, the account's based in Nigeria, and it's verified. So clearly with that one, they've either but it's only been verified in June 25. So this month, the account was started in 2020. So, and it's based in Nigeria. So I'm thinking there's one of two options there. It's either that the account had been verified with that person, the real person's face, and then they've swapped the photos out and the name, and obviously it's still verified. It's a paid for one. Or they've hacked someone else's account that was already verified, that's just been verified, and they've swapped out to Kevin Costner. But for me, again, this is the platform just being utterly ridiculous, because surely if it's been verified with one face, as soon as those photos are swapped out and the names changed, that should be an automatic signal to the platform that something's not right there and it should be removed. Now, we've reported it against the real verified Kevin Costner's account, and it's taken about 5 days, but all of us got a notification back this morning, and mine said that it had been removed, and the other friends had said, we haven't removed it because it doesn't go against community standards, which is
Right.
normal. That's normally the standard response that we get. So I have sent that off to one of my contacts at Meta to say, are you going to explain this one? So not only are you allowing a verified fake profile using Kevin Costner's pictures, who's actually verified on your platform, when it's being reported, you're not removing it, and you're sending out misinformation. One saying it's been removed and the others are saying no, it hasn't, and it hasn't.
See, and you can come to me and get an account for 25 cents and I'll have a verified badge on your on your Instagram profile. So it's like there's no way of somebody stopping that. And if Instagram and Facebook and all these platforms are trying to knock down all these scams, there's always the next scam on
Yeah.
how to bypass that other scam.
Right, I have a
And
question, and for
yeah.
you both. Because me, like, I'm not really into filters. I've tried to like use Grok to make my profile picture look better, and it just doesn't. But how do these AI software work? Where it's not even on a level of girls using filters to distort themselves. They're creating an entire person that doesn't exist.
No different than if you go to these porn websites. Like now you could watch like AI that's like just straight porn. Like there's so
Mm.
many different ways. I'm not gonna give out websites in this space, but in the DMs, I can give you websites on what people are using to make these characters and just keep on going with these characters. But when it comes to like this porn, et cetera, that we're talking about, and they use real people. Like I give you a list of people on Twitter that they could just download the videos or screen record the videos, and then they'll go and use it on Instagram, because those videos and pictures aren't on Instagram, but they are on Twitter. Like, like there's so much, ways and going about of how to scam other individuals with pictures and videos, etc.
Mm. I know of a website where you can create one-off images of people. And the thing is with the AI powered stuff now, I mean, when they used to Photoshop pictures because the person that they wanted to use wasn't of a particular profession. So there's this Australian businessman called Richard Terry, who he's probably one of the very first people that was ever used in these scams. But he wasn't a doctor, but you'd be amazed at how many photographs there are of his head photoshopped onto doctor pictures, wearing obviously like the white coat or the scrubs and stuff like that. But back in the day, it was all very much drawn with your mouse around the head to cut the head out and place it. And they're so ridiculous when we look at them. They're absolutely awful. But with the AI powered photoshopping things now, it's so easy to remove the background around things to the point where you can't. I can put where I've gone and found the original image with a face that I recognize, and I found the original image, and you can literally put them side by side, and there is no way, just for the normal person to look at those and be able to tell that it was Photoshop now. So I suppose there's the potential with the one-off websites that actually create a face that doesn't exist, where they could use AI now to start creating different personas, but it would still have the same expression. I'm not sure that there's anything out there just yet. Like Brett was saying, it's going to be a little while down the line, but it will happen where they can then create an entire character out of AI, someone that doesn't exist, but it's not there just yet. But that's going to be, I just don't even want to think about that time down the line when that's going to occur.
But hold on. Right now we have services that you can have your there are platforms that offer you can have a virtual girlfriend that is actually not sold as virtual girlfriend, but you can have a relationship with, interact
I've seen
with.
that cyber girlfriend
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. People are paying for something. Basically, they want to interact with somebody, they're lacking of something in their life, and that service is providing that in them. Whether it is a real person or not, does it matter? Is it ethically correct to do that? Does it matter actually if it is real or not? If the person actually internally is, I don't know, it's like a therapy for that person, is fulfilling what they are looking for, they're lacking of, I don't know, but
No, you're right. You're right on that.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Some people make up a whole persona because they wish to be that person. And there's a lot of mental illness behind that, I believe.
Mm. Yeah. It's really scary, isn't it? And I know someone was talking earlier about MTV catfish, and that's very different again, isn't it? When we look at catfishing in that respect, the least offensive version of catfishing is because somebody has got a bit, really, really low self-esteem, and they don't feel that they can talk to the person that they want to with their own face, because they think they'd never talk to me if they knew it was me. And so they will use someone else's identity to be able to have that connection and communication with someone. That's the saddest side of this, I think. But then you do get people that catfish that there's been hundreds of cases on MTV now, hasn't there? Where they're doing it for revenge or some other nasty reason. And that's really vile as well, when there's still no money involved with all of those. But the emotional manipulation that goes on, and the betrayal of trust, especially when it's someone as it is very often with things like that, it's really, really hard for people to come to terms with that, because they've often shared really intimate, things. And I don't mean intimate sexual things, but just, your inner thoughts when you think you're in a relationship with someone. It's, you tend to spill your heart in a lot of cases, and knowing then that you've been deceived into doing that's really, really vile. So there's also that side of it, isn't there?
So
But the people
I invited my friend Carmen up, but she hasn't been here. Do you guys mind, Anna and Spider, introducing yourselves again?
after you, Spider.
I'm Spider-Bite. I am normally a nobody. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Spider-Bite. I am a black cat activist that's in the anonymous movement and has been in the anonymous movement since 2009. I expose on what needs to be exposed to the public when it comes to scamming, hacking, predators, traffickers, and corruption, etc. But yeah.
My name's Anna, and I was a victim of a very different kind of romance fraud, because it really is a huge spectrum if you take it away from the majority crime of this. And my abuser was a lawyer here in the UK who was using a fake identity to hunt for women to abuse. And he came offline to meet all his victims, and there are 17 of us that I know of. And his motive wasn't money. It was very much a sexual motive. Plus, it wasn't just that. He got an absolute kick out of the power and control that he had over his victims, through the deceit. So there was a bit of a dual intent behind his. And after my experience, which has taken me a long, long time to get through because of that emotional manipulation, it is my personality type to make something positive out of a negative. So all the information that I learned about my own experience with a narcissist, I created my website, Catch the Catfish, and very quickly started getting lots of victims, come to me with similar experiences to me. But then, as I was explaining earlier, also people where their experience was entirely online, and it became clear that the photos that were being used belonged to someone else and not the person who'd stolen them for the purpose of extorting money. I now work with victims and the police and all other stakeholders of romance fraud. So it's somewhere that I never ever imagined that I'd be 7 years ago, but I wouldn't change it for the world, to be honest.
Can you guys also talk about when you send photos to someone, how they can locate through the metadata, like your GPS location for where you took the photo? I think everyone needs to know that as well.
After you, Spider, you're probably better at explaining that one than me.
So I like to be on the so I'll just talk about Discord. I like to be on the platform Discord because you can get away with a lot more on Discord with sending links and picture links, etc. So normally when I'm using like pictures, etc., it's normally coming from a link that's behind that picture. So once you click on that picture, I'm able to grab your IP, I'm able to grab your address, I'm able to install my malware or whatever it may be. But what was your question that you wanted me to explain exactly?
So, a guy will ask a girl for a photo, just say on Twitter, and she'll send it. And from that photo, if she doesn't have her location, if she turn location services off, they can actually grab that location. And this is how a lot of predators actually traffic women.
Normally, it's normally you have to have I know for iPhone, like if you save that picture, you can look at like where it's been taken in the photo settings or something like that. But I don't really know much of when it comes to sending pictures and getting location from that picture because I don't really focus on that. I'm normally looking at the face and looking at their background because normally people don't know how to hide their background. And then I'll use different types of websites, etc., to tell me, okay, what type of background is that? Where is that location? Because like California, for example, to other states, like California has different walls than what like in the East Coast would have. So you can tell if it's from East Coast or it's from the West Coast, and then you'll just keep going and going and going with the open source intelligence on getting the actual location of where that individual is. But yeah, it's normally very easy to finding out who and where that person is at.
Yeah, but the thing that the Scorpio was referring to the metadata of the photograph, which is the GPS location, camera model, time, hour, stuff like that, that is part of the photograph. But when it comes to social networks, I think long ago, that metadata, when you post or upload a picture on them, that is removed. If I download that if you upload that one right now, a picture that you have taken to Twitter, and I download it from the post, the metadata, I think, is completely removed. You have absolutely no information, just the
Yeah.
picture, as far as I know.
I don't think normal people are going to do that, are they? And the majority of people screen grab them now, which means that there's no metadata with it at all. So yeah, that's a funny one. But I know, Alberto, you've done the same as me as well, and it does help victims sometimes. There are websites, again, won't particularly name them, but you can create links that can be hidden in pictures when they're clicked, or pretending to be another website, for example. And when somebody clicks on that, it will grab the IP and a whole lot of information about the device that they're using, like time settings, what type of device it is, what language it's set to on the device. And although it's not a really close location, it gives you a basic area of where that person is using that device, unless they've got a VPN on it.
Yeah,
But there are still things you can look at. Quite often the time zone, even if there's, for example, it tells you that there's a VPN being used and it says it's in the US, but the time zone has been left in Nigeria, for example. So there are things you can look for again as clues, but that can really help victims to understand sometimes, just as a last push.
yes, I have noticed, for example, in the case of romance scammers, when asking for cryptos, that in all the cases I have seen videos of, they try to look, identify where they're from, and they say, okay, I have just sent you cryptos, you have to go to this site to get them with a link, and they click, and it's amazing that Laos, Nigeria, 99% of the time, I
Yeah.
mean, I see that it's like they mostly use social engineering. It's when it comes to technology, it's very basic. It's all about manipulating the emotions of the people. They don't even use a VPN. It's like when it comes to technology, they don't require anything that special or that costs a lot of money to do it. And I was surprised when it comes to that. And yeah, we can easily generate that. And once we have the IP, well, we can scan and get a lot of information regarding that IP. Yeah, but the spider probably can do much more than that, right? The spider guy.
Mm.
So I do DBD, which is drive-by downloads. It's popular, but not as popular as like in normal hacker or whatever. But what Anna was talking about, with making links and pictures, I do that. I spoof my links to look like an actual website or whatever it may be, like Imager, for example, right? So like when you're screenshotting something on Twitter or whatever, it'll show like that Imager.com or whatever. So I will obviously spoof that link to make it look like it's the actual Imager. But I'll send it to one of the targets that I have on my Discord. So I go after like predators and traffickers and scammers and other hackers. I've caught a lot of other hackers that's using stealers on other children, et cetera, et cetera. And, it's even kids that's hacking other kids just with pictures. Like that's how bad it's getting. With the stealer, right? I'll explain what a stealer is. So a stealer, you don't need anything but just to someone to install this malware. And then, once you give it your Discord webhook, it's going to give out your credit card information, all your passwords, all your emails, all your cookies, all your, credit card information, whatever the information that the stealer is grabbing is going to send to that Discord webhook. And so what I do to catch these other hackers, I've caught 12-year-olds, I caught 16-year-olds, I caught so many kids. And then I obviously report it to their parents, once they got caught, cause then they have their parents' information on their computer or whatever. But, so I'll use like a bait profile, like, or a bait picture, like it's like zoomed in, right? And obviously they want to see the full picture. In order to see the full picture, they have to click on that picture to obviously see that full picture. And it'll normally catch like a hacker. And once they open up that picture, I'm able to grab the IP address. I'm able to grab their address if I have it set to grabbing their address, but they would have to verify their location. And that goes with any link. I don't care what anybody says. You can't just grab an address just like that, right? You need them to actually click on something like, okay, verify this is me type shit. So once they, click on it, it's going to bring them to a page. It's going to show them my software, but I also have it asking like, okay, are you 21 or over? And once they click yes, they are 21 or over, it sends me their GPS link of where they're located. And it's no different when it comes to like a drive-by download, right? So like once they click on, yes, I am 21. Oh, okay. There goes my stealer installing into their device, and I have all their credentials information. And that's just how bad it's really getting in 2025 because it's just popular. But yeah.
Very frightening. The other thing that would be really good to talk about, Alberto, because I know it's starting to get quite late now. I can see lovely Nikki's joined us as well.
Yeah.
Is with these particular romance fraudsters, there's a really high occurrence of follow-up and recovery scams. So once the game's up, quite a lot in my experience, not so much the Ghanaians, but more so with the Nigerians, they will actually come clean with their own face if they think there's a potential to follow the scam on as themselves. Because we need to remember that directly after the fraud, the victims are at their most vulnerable. They've, just discovered that this incredible relationship that they were in didn't exist, nor did the person who they thought that they were talking to. And it leaves a really huge void, along with a lot of vulnerability. And at that point, if the scammer comes back even as themselves, to be able to have someone still to talk to, because remember, it's so intense, the communication, because the scammers are working on them every day, all day, every day. It gives them someone still to talk to, and playing on the kindness of a lot of victims. They will go in there with the words like, I've never done this before. You were the first person that I've scammed, and I've realized, how bad it is, and I don't want to do this anymore. And if I can keep talking to you, it's going to help me, to show me that this isn't the right thing and I need to stop. And it gives a victim purpose, if you like, to potentially keep talking. But of course, all they're doing is actually building the relationship in another format, because then, as always happens, you get the ask of, it's, the reason that I do this is because there's no money here and my parents died, I have to look after my siblings, or my mum's really ill and she's in hospital and we can't pay the fees. So it just moves on in a different way, which is it's just really, really sad, exploiting that pain that they're going through, or visa asks. Visas often come into that at that point. But then we've also got the recovery scams. And so when the realization comes that that money has gone, it's been stolen. And we don't say that victims lost it, because they didn't drop it in the street. It was stolen from them. It was exploited through deception. It was stolen, and it's not going to come back. We are really lucky here in the UK that we have got some systems in place holding banks accountable now, but it's generally not something that happens. And there are too many different ways that recovery scams can happen. So it can be the same group of criminals that have in place ready to contact, saying that they're hackers, for example, cyber hacker. The amount of cyber hacker recovery accounts I get follow me on TikTok and bombing my posts saying, have you been a victim? Or thanks to cybercrack, they found my scammer and they got my money back. There's so many of those, and people are so desperate at that point that they think, oh, that's worth a go. Or there are accounts that get set up pretending to be other victims or family of victims, and they start chatting. They'll come and find victims on my pages and they'll say, oh, my mum was a victim too, but we had a really great agent from the FBI that helped us. I'm sure he'd talk to you if we get you connected. So they come in that way. But then there's also a whole lot of companies, even if you just search on Google, that claim to be recovery companies, and they're all scammers as well. It's just really heartbreaking that it's everywhere. And, as Spider said, it's only going to get worse, unfortunately.
Yeah. So the question is, okay, when this process, okay, you have been targeted, you have been the victim of this, when it finished, I mean, imagine a person who is alone and is a victim of this, starts sending, of course, at one point, it will end because they will run out of, the scammer will have nothing interested from that person. They will be useless for the scammer and they will disappear, I guess, and the person will just never heard from the scammer again, because they can't get anything from that person, and the victim will just be destroyed, wondering what was wrong from his side probably, and that will be the end. Then somebody might have relatives that are completely aware and are completely sure that there is a scam behind all that, and the person could not be recognizing that, would still believe, despite of showing the relatives a lot of elements, evidence in front of their eyes, that is not, it's something that is not real. And okay, up to one point that, okay, they might eventually have to accept the reality, okay, the factor that is not true, and because of the pressure of the family, it stops. And then, okay, I don't know when this is then, because if the person they can't get anything for the person, and the person is surrounded by nobody, it can go on forever.
Yeah. And it's really, really common with these particular scammers as well, that, knowing that that victim is very vulnerable or has chatted in the past, they do keep those contact details or the social media accounts, and they will come back with other identities, and it'll be the same group of scammers a lot of the time. The victims, in retrospect, when they look back, say they seem to know a lot about me, and it's because it was the same group of scammers that were doing it. So, one of the safeguarding recommendations that we have is that you always change your contact details, because either they will reuse them themselves or they will sell your contact details on. And you get on this in this state where you're just receiving 10 times more amounts of spam or cold calls or texts coming through on your phone and all sorts of things like that. And it is really best to start from scratch, even though it's a real pain and it's a real inconvenience, to just ditch that email and that phone number and, start again so that you've got a clean slate.
Yeah, and I also have like multiple email addresses. So like I separate social media from like any kind of banking information,
Yeah.
because you'll know, right? Like, so if I receive an email that I know I registered my social media with, which I never even log in to, about my bank account and resetting my password, I know that it's automatically incorrect. It's a fake spoofed email.
Yeah.
So, and then also about clicking on links. I say this all the time. And Spider just spoke about it. So you could spoof any link and it's really it could be pointing to someone's server. So don't click on links on your mobile device, but on a computer, if you right click, you can see if the address is really Instagram.com or whatever link or not. But be
Yeah.
very careful when clicking on links if you don't know someone, because that's a big exploit. Hey, Nikki, are you trying to speak?
Hi, yeah. Hi, Anna. It's so
Oh,
lovely
yeah.
to hear your voice again. Yeah, it's huge. When I was really in the depths of being scammed, I had must be 5,000 hits of friend requests on Facebook. I mean, within about 2 weeks, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, my details had obviously been passed around to every scammer in the world, and they were all trying to contact me, and they all had pictures of 20-year-old nubile women with no content on their Facebook pages whatsoever. And I just deleted them all and told them all to piss off. But it was an incredible onslaught in my privacy.
Yeah, it's crazy, Nikki, isn't it? And it's it's something I see on the daily with victims who have unfortunately been targeted. It's really awful, isn't it? But you're doing a stellar job of now
Oh, you're
becoming an
very kind.
amazing advocate for victims up in Scotland there, and doing your thing. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I just feel I have to because we just have to spread the word.
Yeah, yours was a really interesting case, wasn't it? Because I only got to know you because I was getting really cross with that yours was the third report that I'd seen in the paper initially, where they were claiming that the character, the person that you were talking to, had been created with AI. And I'd found the other two that weren't AI creations at all.
You did.
And yours, I actually knew Sophie because her pictures had been stolen because of her
Oh,
profession.
you met her before. I hadn't realised that.
I hadn't met her, but I knew her face because she's used in the oil rig scams because she's often on the boats with the hard hat on in her pictures. So when your story first came up, I was just really shouting at the screen going, stop saying that woman's been created with AI because she's not. And that's when I got in touch with Good Morning Britain and I was saying, look, please stop saying that because people will stop doing reverse searches. It's not there yet.
Well,
and
the German woman who contacted me, Annette, she'd been
yes,
contacted by somebody
same
also
group,
calling
isn't it?
themselves Alan Morgan, and it
Yeah,
was obviously completely the same scammer.
it was the same group. And but look, you sharing your story saved Annette. And that's why it's so important that, we do be brave. And even though there's a lot of really uneducated trolls out there, it's really vital that we do share these stories because it helps. And you saved Annette. You saved someone already in such a short
Yeah,
space of
well, that's just utterly wonderful. I mean, she took out a bloody loan to pay off the
time. I
scammer.
know her. It's
I mean, it was
awful.
absolutely heartbreaking.
It was.
You
But
know,
you're doing a brilliant
they
job.
also set up fake Facebook sites. I mean, there are Facebook sites I have discovered. I don't know, mature lesbians over 60, I think, was one of them. It's clearly set up by a scammer.
Yeah.
And the only people that ever responded to anything were quite clearly African men or
Yeah.
very nubile young women who were completely fake.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And that's something that I see in the scammer groups as well, is they will point other scammers to particular types of groups to go and bomb, as they call, in the comment section, to try and get people to engage with them. And unfortunately, the LGBT community are already slightly more vulnerable than everybody else, because so
Absolutely.
many haven't yet come out. And for that's a scammer's dream, because they're already slightly isolated. And so having that relationship, pretending that they're also gay, is a really good way of keeping the person silent, so that they don't talk about what's going on.
But what struck me was that these guys, these Nigerian guys, they can conduct a conversation for months pretending to be a bloody lesbian. And
Yeah,
they do it so well. It's absolutely incredible.
it is. It's once you're in that, it's just the manipulation is that good, isn't it?
Absolutely extraordinary. I mean, the patience they have is just incredible.
Yeah, and you did all the right things, didn't you? You were challenging and questioning all
Always,
the way through.
all the way through. Yeah.
Yeah,
From
but
the
they
very
used lip
green
syncing,
card.
didn't they? Yeah, they used
I
the lip syncing videos
still
with
got
you.
caught.
Yeah.
And I have to confess, Anna, I got caught last week. I was talking to somebody, one of my friends, about a Brandy Carlisle concert in Glasgow, and she had a ticket, and I said, "Oh, I'll buy it." She said, "Oh no, it's already gone." And then suddenly, some person came into the conversation, said, "Oh, I might be able to help," and I thought, right, I'll buy a ticket off them. And it turns out they sold me a fucking fake ticket.
Oh, it's just
They know
everywhere, isn't
about
it?
it. How did they know that? I mean, it's
Yeah,
incredible.
it's not great, but you're doing an amazing job. Thanks for being such a brilliant advocate.
Oh, it's just I can't not do it, Anna. I can't. It's like you because you were drawn into it for exactly the same reason. You didn't want
Yeah,
anybody else to be caught.
that's absolutely right. My very first words were, if doing this or going public saves just one person from being hurt, it's been worth it. And 7 years down the
That's my
line,
word, exactly the same as well.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
you, Gary. So wonderful.
You're amazing, Nikki.
Yeah.
So Alberto, I'm getting a little tired. It's almost
Yeah, yeah,
5:30.
actually, yeah, no, to sum up, I think that, okay, what Nikki was saying and Anna is probably one of the most powerful things that we can do is, okay, if we are victims of this or any other kind of scam, okay, go and speak, is, okay, we might have suffered damages psychologically, economically, but we can protect other people, we can, yeah, help others, and that is very gratifying. So speaking, interacting, sharing that story, spreading what's going on is a powerful way of, fighting back and, yeah, if we don't talk, if we don't share these experiences, well, they will just as Spider was, Brett was saying, he was initially, doing things, as in hacking that were bad, but nobody was reporting him, nobody was actually saying anything, so he kept doing more and more and more, and he became better and better and better. Well, it's like the people that are raping women or children, okay, they start, and then if nothing happens, nobody reports them, then they become better. No, they become worse and worse and worse, more violent, and they're not going to stop. So, as early as something happens and we talk and speak and we're able to find a way of having a voice, because, yeah, I mean, it's how many people can you reach? I mean, I
Yeah,
really wish that we can have channels of spreading these kind of things that can really reach a lot of people. I wish, I don't know, platform could provide us to, okay, voice and amplify all this. That is so important to the users of the platform that are basically the potential victims, the good people that are going to be damaged. So that's it. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Anna. I really thank you so much for your time, for being here and for what you're doing. You have all my support. After this space over, it will be published in a podcast format, the audio. I will also be posting links to all the sites and tools you have been talking about in order to
Yeah.
help people to, in these cases, and resources related to that. So, Anna, thank you very much. Anything you would like to add?
You so much. Just thank you so much for hosting. That's my first space ever. I've never done one before. Lots of others speaking and podcasts, but never done a Twitter space before. So
Anna, I
thank you so
followed
much.
you. You followed me back. I would love to plan like a follow up, different space. I'm gonna try to talk to a lot of other people. Just like my people that have been trying to work on this
Yeah.
trafficking stuff and what's going on in spaces. I
Oh,
would
it's
love to
crazy,
have
isn't
you.
it?
Yeah.
And let
Oh,
us know when it's going to happen again, because I only just picked this up because I was trying to fill in the
yeah.
form about
Alberto's been
consultation.
retweeting it, Nikki. Alberto has been retweeting it for about a week, but it's,
Yeah, I just
the
missed
algorithms
it.
are crap on X, aren't they? They don't share
Yeah.
a lot.
No, the thing is that I am actually silent. I mean, okay, this is a narrative, okay, that is not, but I'm shadow banned actually. I have certain amount of followers that, okay, I, compared to my reach of my tweets, make no sense, despite of me checking, the services that verify whether you're like, shadow banned or not. I'm not, but on the fact, my reach is very, very low. Maybe because I talk about things that the algorithm doesn't want to amplify or some reason, but fortunately there are
Yeah,
other
so
people that
you
are doing
picked
that
if
for me.
I'll tell you what it is. So your it says cybersecurity. Is that your community you did it in? Yeah, so
Yes,
that's the
that is
problem.
correct. That
When
is
you
correct.
host
Yeah,
a
yeah.
space, so when you host a space in a community, it's only showing up for the community. But if you just host a regular space, not like outside of a community, you'll get larger reach.
Actually, I
When
thought it was the opposite because this spaces, I mean, I hosted in the in the community, but it was reaching all the 9,000 people in there, plus all the people following me, and I was able to share the link with you and
Yeah,
Anna.
no, it's not. We thought the same thing because my friend Fred, he has Fred Farms, and he was one of the first communities on X. And he was, as soon as he started hosting within the community, there was like no one saw the space. Like I couldn't even see his space, and I was in his community. So once he switched, now he's visible to everybody, and he has 400,000 followers.
Okay, well, take into account and yeah, Scorpio. Well, I did click on a link you sent me yesterday without verifying, and yeah, I can tell people what they should do to protect themselves, but I am truly not the best example, so I'm terrible when it comes to protecting myself. Spider, thank you so much for being here and speaking openly about this without, yeah, don't caring about what people might
It's
think
so
or
funny
anything.
because as soon as he asked me if I have like a Telegram or a Signal, I was like, nope, that's a very dangerous application. And he's like, what about this? I'm like, nope, it's very dangerous. I don't have that. And he was like, all right, I get it
Well, and I
now.
was about to tell you how about Facebook Messenger. That is probably the most secure one, right? No, just kidding. No, and Anna also, I was contacting her and telling her, okay, I am in Lagos, Nigeria. That was probably the first thing that I said. Yeah, when I approve people, I have to be careful because, yeah, you told me, Scorpio, that you were going to block me. And yeah, it was funny. And Spider, yeah, thank you so much, Spider, for being here. I mean, again, as Brad was saying, keep showing up. I mean, come on, you have a lot to share. So doing what you're doing, I really think that you are helping a lot, and yeah, so keep showing up. Thank you so much, Spider. Nobody's forcing you to be here, and you are doing it, so that's, I really appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Alberto has a gun to my head right now. I'm forced to speak in this talk show. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, most definitely had a great time. But yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, guys, and well,
Thanks a lot.
go ahead. Ann.
So
I
Okay.
was just saying thanks, everyone.
thank you, everybody, and good night. It's lovely to meet you all.
Good night, thank you.
Bye.